Diving into the Wreck by Adrienne. First, having read the Book of Myths and loaded the camera and checked the edge of the knife blade, I put on the body armor of black rubber, the absurd flippers, the grave and awkward mask. I'm having to do this, not like Cousteau with his assiduous team aboard the sun-flouted schooner, but here alone. There's a ladder. The ladder is always there, hanging innocently close to the side of the schooner. We know what it is for, we who have used it. Otherwise, it's a piece of maritime floss, some sundry equipment. I go down, rung after rung, and still the oxygen immerses me. The blue light, the clear atoms of our human air. I go down. My flippers cripple me. I crawl like an insect down the ladder, and there is no one to tell me when the ocean will begin. First the air is blue, and then it is bluer, and then green, and then black. I am blacking out. And yet my mask is powerful, it pumps my blood with power. The sea is another story. The sea is not a question of power. I have to learn alone to turn my body without force in the deep element. And now, it is easy to forget what I came for. Among so many who have always lived here, swaying their granulated fans between the reefs, and besides, you breathe differently down here. I came to explore the wreck. The words are purposes. The words are maps. I came to see the damage that was done and the treasure that prevail. I stroked the beam of my lamp slowly along the flank of something more permanent than fish or weed, the thing I came for. The wreck and not the story of the wreck, the thing itself and not the myth, the drowned face always staring toward the sun, the evidence of damage worn by salt and sway into this threadbare beauty, the ribs of the disaster curving their assertion among the tentative haunters. This is the place, and I am here, the mermaid, whose dark hair streams black, the merman in his armored body. We circle silently about the wreck. We dive into the hold. I am she. I am he, whose drowned face sleeps with open eyes, whose breasts still bear the stress, whose silver, copper, vermeil cargo lies obscurely with snide barrels. Half-wedged and left to rot, we are the half-destroyed instruments that once held to a course, the water-eaten log, the fouled compass. We are, I am, you are, by cowardice or courage, the one who find our way back to this scene, carrying a knife, a camera, a book of myths, in which our names do not appear. So there's obviously a lot of on the surface level, metaphors for exploration. But two things kind of stand out. One is really the search for truth and the discovery of truth. As she says in it, I came here. She went for the wreck and not the myth or the story of the wreck. And so sometimes myths, or often myths, are more glamorous than the story that they're based on. And so here, the wreck, she illustrates that it's damaged, it's threadbare, the ribs of disaster curving their assertion. But I think another thing we should consider is that this was written in the early 70s, right in the middle of second wave feminism, and Rich was very proactive, especially in the feminist movement, and she had a proclivity for writing politically. And so I don't think it's really out of place to try and look at this through a feminine lens, or a feminist lens. And so you can really look at it and think of the ocean as kind of, for lack of a better term, the man's world, right? She's kind of going into the man's world alone, where, they have lots of possible privileges that aren't afforded to her, and so they can swim freely, where she has to kind of encumber herself with protection against the ocean. And the civil rights that they fought for could be considered the wreck, or rather the treasures inside the wreck. And the wreck could also symbolize the sort of stories that were told, and the lies that were told to sort of justify the withholding of rights to women. Um, and so she's going down to kind of unearth what the truth is instead of the stories that we tell. And the ladder. She makes a big point of the ladder, and that's the descent in this case. Um, and it's kind of the one lifeline she has back to the relative safety of the boat. So the women's rights are kind of, they're a boat on the ocean. They're kind of at the mercy of the ocean. And also, when she's going down, she talks about the transition of going from in the air, the human air, into the water, and it's a gradient. And I think you can interpret that as it's really easy to forget what you're seeing when you're in the midst of it. And she kind of talks about that. It's easy to forget what I came for, and when you're in the midst of life or in the midst of whatever you're seeking, you think you can kind of forget what your goal was and get lost in whatever particular action you're in the midst of. And obviously, there's, like any good poetry, you can dive into this for hours and hours and explore more and more. But that was just a kind of really shallow look at diving into the wreck by Adrienne Rich. Thank you.